I have 15 clauses that I believe are a must-have with your contractors. I can give you my contracts, I'll give them to you for free that I use with contractors. So I want to walk through each of these 15 clauses. The first one is the scope of work. So you want to have a detailed scope of work. I create this on a separate thing and I add it as an addendum to their contract. And I even have that as well. If you guys want that for free, I have a scope of work. It's a detailed list of every possible thing you could do on a house. And what you do is you go through this scope and you basically checklist everything you want, or it's digital, so you could even delete stuff or add stuff, whatever. And you want to make this right down to knobs on the cabinets, a new handrail, like everything. This is where you take your time and you really build out the most detailed scope of work. You leave no rock unturned. It's a bunch of upfront work, but it's going to save you so much time and hassle and headache later. The better you communicate upfront with your contractors, the more clear you are about that, then you eliminate 90% of your headaches and problems by just having really good communication and a really good contract up front. You eliminate 90% of your problems. And you'll see why as I go through this. Okay, so scope of work is the first clause or the first thing in your contract. Second thing is payment, meaning how is payment handled? Payment needs to be tied directly to the scope of work, and it needs to be very clear on how that pay is structured. The third clause is the draw schedule. I have 5 rules that I follow when doing draws. The first one is I only pay for work completed. No upfront draws. And what does every contractor tell you? I need half upfront so that I can what? Buy materials. Nope, we do not do that. If they need materials upfront, then you buy the materials and you subtract it from contract price. And I put it on my credit card and I get points and I fly my family wherever I want around the world because I get so many points on my credit card. And then when you do pay a draw, it's only for whatever percentage of scope that they've completed. And then you always hold back at least 20% at the end. Not 10%, 20%. It needs to be enough to where they're going to do that last little bit to get the final draw. I like to have a minimum draw amount of $2,500. Now, this obviously depends on the scope of work. I've come outside of that, but I don't want to be paying $200 draw, $500 draw, $1,000 draw. It's just too much accounting and headache. So I like to have a minimum draw amount. I only do 1 draw per week, and typically it's on Fridays. We pay all our contractors on Friday. And if you want paid on Friday, you need to submit for that payment 3 days early. Must provide your invoice and a lien waiver. I have to get an invoice and I have to get a lien waiver every time they submit a draw, or you do not get paid. Now, guys, why do you think we need invoice and lien waiver? Because if you get audited by the IRS and you don't have an invoice, they're going to count that as income, not expense, and you're going to pay taxes. Your lien waivers are a partial lien waiver on a draw and a final lien waiver on the final payment. And guys, I teach this to people. They don't do it until they have a contractor put a mechanics lien on their property and it holds up their closing and they pay it to get the property closed. And then they start doing lien waivers. Happens over and over again. That's when I started taking it seriously. I had a contractor with a $7,500 mechanics lien on my property on a contractor I fired. They put the mechanics lien, title found it the day before closing and said, we can't close. There's a $7,500 thing. And I said, you know what? Pay it because I don't want to lose my buyer. Just pay it. And then I wanted to kill the guy, but I paid it. I could have fought it and got it off, but I didn't want to hold up my closing. So get the lien waivers. Okay, number 5 is 3 days from date of submittal to receive payment. And the reason why I have that is because if I'm using hard money, I need a little bit of time so that I can submit the draw, get the inspection done, and pay the contractor. Give yourself a little bit of time. Now, this is in writing, so a contractor can't be like, hey, I need paid today, and you're dropping everything and you're meeting them at your house or at the bank or something. Like, guys, I've done all this. No, remember our contract. I got 3 days to pay you from when you submit your invoice. And we only pay on Fridays, so I need your invoice on Wednesday. Or you don't get paid this week. You get paid next week. And I train everybody. A lot of this is training your contractors on how you operate. And once they get trained on how you operate, a lot of that headache goes out the window. Clause number 4 is completion deadline. Very clear timeline for when they'll start and complete their scope of work. For example, let's say I've got an electrician and he's going to come in and he's going to do this whole list of stuff. He has to provide for me his timeline. It's going to take me 7 days to do this work. If I don't get that as part of his bid, then I can't decide if I want to hire him, because if his timeline is 7 days and another contractor's is 3 days, I might pay more for the other contractor that can get it done in 3 days because I'm going to save 4 days. Part of my selection process with contractors is how quickly they can get the work done. If it's going to take them 10 days, that's even longer. I can't tie up the project that long. I'm losing money if I go that long. The timeline is very important, and it has to be in writing and it has to be in your contract. Without a completion deadline, there is no incentive to hustle. 5 is bonus and penalties. I don't always give bonuses because I feel like your pay that we agreed on is your bonus. Like, why am I paying you more to do the job you agreed to do? But sometimes I'll do it. So the way that I'll do the bonuses is every day they finish early from the agreed upon timeline, I will give them a per diem bonus. Because if they finish early and I can speed up my process, that's money to me and I'm happy to pay you a bonus. They got to figure out your per diem or whatever. But likewise, I always have a per diem penalty if they go past the deadline. And it's every day. And typically what I'll tell my contractors is I'll say, look, I've timelined this project to take 60 days or 30 days or 45 days, whatever. Every day I go past 45 days, I'm paying $500 a day to my lenders every day this thing goes past the deadline. And now I'm passing that on to you because you're holding me up. And that's how I explain it to them. Because you said you'd get it done in 7 days and we're on day 12 and you're not done yet. And you've pushed everybody back. You've delayed my project. These are hard conversations to have if you don't have them up front and you have them after the fact. It ain't going to go well. But if you have all these conversations and you get it all in writing and you talk about it all up front, then you're like, hey, refer to clause 5 in your contract. You agreed to this. Don't be mad at me. Okay, clause number 6 is how we handle selections and allowances. This depends on the project and the scope, obviously, but I want to make sure that my budget has allowances. So it's like we're going to allow $8,000 for flooring. We're going to allow $10,000 for cabinets. So you create these allowances, but then you do not let the contractor make the selections. What will happen if you let the contractor make the selections? They're going to pick out the most horrific stuff ever, and they're going to buy stuff that's on sale. It's going to be a disaster. Then I make the selections. I tell them exactly what materials to put in, and that's within that allowance we created in the scope. Clause 7 is what I call minor alterations. Basically, I need to have some leeway for routine and small changes that happen throughout the renovation. The island's going to go this way, not that way. You can't change order me for things that are small, minor, normal things that are going to happen throughout the project. So I want to be clear about this because contractors will underbid and then they'll try to nail you with change orders to make their money. Very common tactic. Come in low, change order the heck out of them to make money. So that's number 8 is change orders. So how do we handle a significant change that is outside the scope of work and not considered a minor alteration? You have to make sure that this is talked about and agreed upon ahead of time in writing. Because what they'll do is they'll just do the change and then they'll slap you with a big fat invoice for what they did. And now you got a problem. You're like, what are you talking about? Make sure you're very clear. Change orders must be approved in writing up front. I had this happen, by the way, guys, on my Puerto Rico $8 million house. My phase 1 builder who does all of the structure, it's all reinforced concrete. At the end of like 12 months of working for me, he gives me an invoice. It was like over $100,000. And, we had changed some things. We'd moved this around, moved that around. I thought it was all minor alterations. He clearly didn't. And not only were his change orders like for minor alterations, but they were excessive. They were 10 times what it actually cost. And he thought that he could just like nail me with this and I was just going to pay it. And I was like, dude, let's sit down with our contract and let's talk about this. You should have said, hey, you want to change that pool around this way, not that way, and whatever we change, you want to move the lights from here to there. I assume that was all minor alterations. Now you're hitting me with this big change order. You should have brought it to me and said, here it is in writing. Do you want me to do this? Approve it ahead of time before we make these changes. And he didn't. And so I didn't pay any of it. I said, no, absolutely not. You should have talked to me about this if you thought this was worth more money.
I've been flipping houses for over 20 years now, and one of the biggest challenges with rehabbing houses is keeping track of everything. That's why I built Flipster. Flipster is your all-in-one deal management and CRM software for wholesaling and flipping houses. And the rehabbing tools in Flipster allow you to stay organized and easily keep track of everything going on. With the scope of work tool, you can create a detailed list of everything that needs done on the project. The budget tracking tool tracks what's been paid and to who, how many draws, and what the remaining balances are. The paperless contractor management center is where contractors upload invoices, lien waivers, and W-9s, and it automatically tracks it to each specific rehab that you're doing. These and other time-saving tools in Flipster not only keep you on track, but they save you countless hours. I can't imagine rehabbing houses without Flipster. To test drive it for yourself for free, go to joinflipster.com.
Okay, number 9 is warranties. I want to get warranties, and I want to be clear on what's warranted. What exactly and for how long will the contractor warranty his work after completion? Now, this is extremely difficult to enforce. And I can't tell you how many times my brand new furnace fails 1 month into me selling the house. The homeowner calls me and says, "What the heck, my brand new rehabbed house I bought, the furnace just went out and this ain't cool. I'm pissed off." I call the contractor and say, "Hey, I paid you $5,500 to put a new furnace in, and I got this problem and that problem. I need you to get over there and fix it." Refer to clause 9 in our contract. You warranted the furnace for a year. So I need you to honor your warranty and go over there and take care of this problem. I would say probably 3 out of 10 times the contractor will honor their warranty. The other 7 out of 10 times, they'll tell me to F off, and then they never get work from me again. Just because it's in here doesn't mean you enforce it, but what it does, it sends a very strong message. If I'm going to pay you for this work, I need you to warranty it. And I try to get 12-month warranties from contractors. Clause number 10 is compliance. Contractor is licensed and agrees to comply with federal, state, and local code and laws. And it's your job, contractor, to know what that is and make sure you're compliant. Clause number 11 is insurance. They must have active liability insurance and workers' comp for all workers on site. I do not want a guy fall off the roof and I'm paying his medical bills. I had an experience happen. I was actually there when this happened. The framing contractor, he laid the 2x4 across his thigh and he ran his bandsaw across the 2x4 and he cut a gash 1 inch deep into his thigh. And we rushed him to the hospital because he's bleeding all over the place. He had no insurance, and guess who paid his medical bills? Cost me tens of thousands of dollars for this guy to go to the hospital. Clause number 12 is safety. Contractor agrees to follow all safety practices and indemnifies and holds harmless you, the investor, for any and all injuries. Now, this would have been great for my guy that cut his leg with the 2x4, right? They need to be safe, and if they get hurt, it's on them, not me. You can't sue me if you get hurt on the job. 13 is liability. Contractor shall indemnify, defend, and hold you harmless against any and all expenses, damages, liabilities resulting from any breach or default by the contractor under this agreement. So again, that kind of aligns with safety. These are just things that are really good to have to cover your butt in the event of something. Okay, number 14 is walkthrough final payment. Once the contractor scope of work is complete, there's to be a walkthrough and final punch list, and the contractor's final payment is withheld until the punch list is completed, and it has to be more than 10%. I'll tell you guys a story I had. This is where I changed this in my business. I had the painter come in and he painted, and you know how you go through with blue tape and you tape all the spots you want touched up. So we do that. We go through and we blue tape everywhere. I call the painter and I say, "Hey, I need you to come back for the punch list." And I was there for this. I see the painter walk in the front door and he looked around and he saw blue tape everywhere. He didn't say a word. He turned around, walked out the door, and totally disappeared because I had held back 10%. And in his mind, 10% was not worth finishing the project. And he was like, "No way, I'm out of here." And he walked. I didn't hold back enough for him to be motivated. Even 20% might not be enough. You want them like, "Are you 100% happy with my work? Because I really want that final draw so I can be done." You gotta hold back enough. So as you're drawing, once you get down to the last 20%, then no more draws until they're 100% done. You've done the punch list, you've done the walkthrough, and you're happy with it. And clause number 15 is dispute. In the event of a dispute, you and your contractor agree to take the matter before an arbitrator. Now, arbitration is a whole lot cheaper than courts and then litigation. I created my own software called Flipster. Flipster has all of my management tools, and it's all digital. We have what's called in there a contractor management center. They have to upload their invoices and lien waivers digitally. It comes right into a dedicated folder for that project. It's all organized. And at the end of the year, I go boom, and it sends it off to the CPA for 1099s. And I don't even have to think about it. It's got my budget tracking, my punch list tools, all of it, my scopes, everything are tools that I built in that software. The basic level of $97 a month, you get all those tools. A paperless digital tracking center, and it does it per project. So I could have multiple projects going on. Even my budget tracker, what it does is as you pay your draws, it tells you your balance is owed. You set it all up in the beginning of your project. You put your entire scope in there, all your subs in there. And then at a glance, I instantly know what I paid, what's still owed, what's still outstanding, how many draws I paid. I think it's just a great way to stay super organized. You can do a trial of that and see if you like it. If you go to joinflipster.com, you can do like a free 7-day trial. and see if you like that tool. You guys that are rehabbing. But I built it based on all the projects I do and how I would like to run the project. But I think they're really cool tools.